Gamers, today we are back with another video, this time on the difficulty of the new civilizations and the old ones. I've asked Twitch chat to help me out. Which one do I do? Do I do them based on what I think? Do I do them based on what like the general, average gamer is gonna be feeling like? So I kind of asked them for their input on the old civs, and I'm going to do the old civs first, and then I'm going to add the new ones to it. So again, this is a difficulty civ tier list with the help of all my friends at Twitch chat. For the first 10, for the new civs, I'll go off on that a little bit later. So we're going to start with some obvious ones. English, French as well, HRE, and Abbasid. So this is kind of where I think for new players, these civs are pretty straightforward. Like I think at high level, Abbasid is a lot harder, probably 2.5 stars. Same thing with HRE, but overall, I would say these are like the entry level civs. They're not that complicated. They're not that difficult to play in terms of strategy. It's like Abbasid, make 2 TC and then make villagers, make army. HRE is like make men at arm or age up or whatever. And then French and English are usually the super basic civs where where you just make knight archer or you make longbow spearman. The next one we'll discuss is Delhi, Rus, and Ottoman. Again, in my opinion, at the high level, Rus is probably like a 1-star civ, but a lot of newer players, lower league players, struggle with killing animals and might create multiple scouts, so a lot of people think that Rus is a bit harder, which, I understand. Same goes for Delhi. Delhi, in my opinion, is one of the easier civs at the high level because it's very straightforward. But because you gotta get all the upgrades every time you age up, and the upgrades kind of take slow, and then there's sacred sites and there's relics, a lot of people find them pretty overwhelming. So we went with this one. And then Ottoman, it's kind of like there's some points where they're kind of rough to play, but in general, once you start pumping out units, it becomes pretty straightforward civ, I think, where you just kind of go at it. And last but not least, China, Mongol, and Malian. For Malian, there was a discussion, like, is it a 2, is it a 3? I'm not really sure. I think Malian at the high level is probably a 3. It's a pretty hard civ to play. Same with Mongol and same with China. So now that we got these out of the way, like for example, China has a lot of stuff to do, like macroing, imperial official moving left and right. Mongol, you gotta like protect your trade if you're going for trade. You don't have walls, so it's pretty hard to play. And then Malian, all their units are good, but also bad because they require insane amounts of like babysitting and microing and doing the cow booming and securing your golds and so on, and so forth. Last but not least, let's get started with the new civs. I got the flags from the Reddit, so this is the Zhu Xi's legacy right here. We got Ayyubids, we got Byzantine Empire, we got Japanese Jeanne d'Arc, which I'm still not sure how to pronounce properly, and then the last flag is Order of the Dragon. So, where would I rate these civs? This is now my opinion, okay? So obviously chat has not played this. This one we've done so far is kind of working with the chat. This is my opinion where the civs are at. There was a lot of worry that all the new civs are going to be too hard to play, or they're going to be more complicated, more difficult version of the older civs. But we're going to start with an easy one. One of the new civs is a 1-star player, at 1-star civ, and that civ is Order of the Dragon. Order of the Dragon is a really cool civ. Obviously, I can't give you any details yet because it's not out yet, or the details are not out, but it is a 1-star civ. If you enjoy the other 1-star civs, you will probably enjoy Order of the Dragon. So if you were worried, if you're one of those people that's like, oh my god, all the new Civs are so hard and complicated and they sound really intense, Order of the Dragon is complete opposite, and it's gonna be very easy to get into it, even if you have never played HRE. Depending when you're watching this video, you already know what the Civ is about, but if you're watching the moment the Civ tier list goes out, there's no info yet. All right, next one. I'm gonna put. I would probably put Japanese in 2-star. I don't think Japanese is that complicated or mechanically difficult. I do think that obviously it has its own unique mechanics, which again I can't discuss because nothing is out yet. But I don't think it's that complicated, and I don't think that people will struggle too much learning Japanese and playing Japanese. Next one we'll be talking about is Jeanne d'Arc. A lot of people thought that based on what they saw in the preview, that Jeanne d'Arc will be a 1-star Civ, but I think people severely underestimate how important the hero is and the things you have to do with the hero. I actually think that this Civ at a high level will probably be like a 1 or 2-star, but at low levels I think Jeanne d'Arc is going to be 3-star. For the reason that, think of it like Khan, but with a lot more importance to it, right? And if you think about newer players or lower league players, how many people keep their Khan alive and efficient? I don't think a low-level player will be able to get full potential from the hero, and I don't think they're gonna keep it alive. I'm gonna be honest. It is very important to keep her alive. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 stars on that. The next one we'll be talking about, I gotta add a new tier actually, and that tier is PhD. Now this Civ requires PhD to play, so if you don't have one, don't bother. It is going to be Byzantines. So we've already seen the preview. You guys know kind of what it's about, but Byzantines has more mechanics, and I think in order to play Byzantines really well, it's gonna require a lot of practice, to say the least. There are so many like moving parts when you play Byzantines. There's so many things you need to do, so many buildings you have to position properly. You have a 5th resource that you need to manage. Like, there's a lot of things, and yeah, I think Byzantines is probably going to be the hardest civilization. I mean, if I had to put a number, it would be like a 4-star Civ, right? Like a 4 out of 3. But I do think it's... People ask me like, oh, is it... Because I said, before jokingly, like, Byzantines requires PhD to play, and people are like, oh, is it harder than China? Yes, it is harder than China. So, yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's a great Civ. It's a lot of fun. But I think it's just very hard to play. The next one, or the last 2 that we have, are Ayyubids and Zhu Xi's Legacy. I'm trying to think. I would honestly say Zhu Xi's Legacy is probably a 3-star Civ. It doesn't have a lot of the things that China has that make you feel real cozy and comfortable. And late game, Zhu Xi's Legacy is a lot harder than China to play. Okay? That doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just a lot harder to play because there are... because we saw the preview already, there are like toggle abilities, there are different strategic upgrades you need to get. I would say it's not like harder than China or less, but it's different kind of difficult than China, and I'm probably gonna have to give it a 3-star. And then Ayyubids, last but not least. Ayyubids is not a very hard Civ. I would probably give it a 1 or 2 stars. If I could, I'd probably put it like 1.5 star. I don't think it's as simple as some of these other ones. but I don't really think it's a 2-star. So I would probably put Ayyubids like, you know, like a 1.5, but I'll put it 2 just for the. I'll probably preferably put it on 1 actually. I don't think that there's a lot of like strategic difficult options like maybe Japanese or Delhi, and there's not as many things that you like have to do in the early game or something like that. It's very you know, slow. It kind of follows a pattern, and you don't need to like react differently every game. Even though Ayyubids have 8 different wings, you're not gonna need to like do the, you know, that meme with the woman sitting and the math numbers popping up. Like, you're not gonna need to be calculating like, oh, based on this one I'm supposed to go this wing and this wing. Like, you're gonna be able to follow a build, follow a pattern that you like. So can I order them by difficulty? I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna go into it. It's gonna take me a while to think, because again, these are like, I'm kind of trying to think not on high level. I'm trying to think on like what other people would consider difficult. So if I rated them like from the easiest to hardest, it would take me like another 20-30 minutes to be like, okay, what would people consider harder, this or that? So that is it. Now, people have asked me when am I gonna make like Civ tier list in terms of like which ones are the best. So I've played the new Civs about like month and a half, 2 months ago, and I knew even back then like what I'm playing is obviously going to be changed, you know, weather balance, whether this, whether that. So even if I base the Civ tier list off of me playing then, it's not really going to tell much, because I'm assuming they're going to be balance wise a lot different now when they get released. So what I'm going to do is, when I do my subathon on November 14th, I'm going to play for a couple of days and then order the Civs, like make a tier list, and then after that, you know, once I have a little bit more experience, we'll do another one. So that's it. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the this difficulty tier list. I do want to say that you shouldn't be like discouraged. Like, if you wanted to play, you know, Zhu Xi's Legacy, or you wanted to play Byzantines and you're like, oh, they're too hard, I'm not gonna play it, you know, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just, I do think they're harder than average, but there's also a lot of cool stuff about the Civs that are more difficult. So try them out at the end of the day and figure it out, you know, figure out what you like, figure out if you can play the Civ. Maybe it's not too hard for you because you're a genius. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch. I'm probably live right now playing Byzantines with my PhD. And if you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.